So in the previous tutorial, I showed you how I use just a simple compression and some very specific EQ settings to get my bass to be more prominent. So let's move on with that, and I'll show you some other tricks that I use. As I showed before, I have another layer, not just this first one of the Farfisa, I have this other layer of the Wurlitzer, of the Rhodes bass. And let me kind of show you what I did with this Wurlitzer bass. I have this compression and EQ. However, I used slightly different settings, especially on that EQ. Let me show you what I mean. As you can see, I did the same trick of adding 800 and removing the high frequencies. However, I added some low frequencies to this sound because I needed to get that low end that's missing on the first sound. See? That gives me that sub that I need. I won't go that extreme though. And if I play it just with the Farfisa, listen without it, and I'm bringing it back, suddenly the sound became fatter. The other thing that I did to make this even cooler is that I didn't really want that Rhodes sound to be very prominent in the mix the way it is right now. So I added this filter. It's called One Knob. It's very simple. All it does is it's a cool filter that adds some resonance, but also removes those high frequencies, which I don't really need because they kind of define it as a Rhodes, which I don't want. So let's hear it. Listen to what it does. So before, it was like this. And now, it's pretty cool. And with that Farfisa, so what I'm going to do now is I want to process those two layers and just start treating them as one sound. So I'm going to go into Mix Console, Devices, Mix Console, which is a very, very powerful tool in Cubase. You can see those two channels here. If you don't, you can actually right-click and do Show Only Selected Channels. I can select one of these channels here, and then Shift and click the second channel. Now I can click Alt and Shift at the same time, or just click Q-Link here, which just turned on, and then I can route both of them to the same location. In this case, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to look for a group that I created before that's called Bass. Here it is. I'm going to click it, and as you can see now, both of them are now routed to bass. Now I can treat that bass and process these two channels at the same time. So let's go to my group. Here it is, Group Tracks, and Bass. I'm going to click this, and it showed up. So basically, I don't have a lot of different processing here. I just have a little compressor, which I just did to balance it. So let's listen to that compressor. Without it, it was just a bit looser. That compressor with a similar setting as I used with the first one, a very slow attack, yet a very high ratio and a threshold that makes a big impact. I did that to make the sound a bit more smooth and together instead of two separate layers. Now, I want to show you one of my dirty tricks. If I'll go up to my Sends here, you'll see that I have something called Bass DST. That's actually a distortion track that I created as an effects channel. Let me show you what it is. I'm going to click this over here to bring it up on Mix Console. And what it is basically an effects channel that, except for some basic EQ, has a distortion, which is the wave's GTR, kind of a pedal emulation, and I pick this overdrive. Now what I'm doing with this overdrive is that I'm sending, instead of using an insert, I'm sending a copy of that track into the send effect, so it adds a distorted channel without actually hurting the clean sound that I have. So let me play with that clean sound after some EQ without that. Now let's add this distortion and see what happens. I like it a lot. You can actually add less of it, but in this case, I wanted this to be very prominent. Let's play it a little bit with the drums and see what it sounded like.